Inside a C-rank dungeon complex, a little boy can be seen carrying a huge bag on his back while being treated with disrespect by the other party members. His name is Henry Cleaves, and he is level 1. Right now, this adventurers group tries to use him as a decoy and lure enemies toward everybody. Hearing that, despite looking seemingly thrilled by the instruction, he lets them know he will do his best. Not even a moment later, as he tries to go in, one of the guys kicks him in the back, calling him useless. It is time for Henry to become useful. Apparently, the boy has a useful skill, and that is evasion. The moment a creature tries to slash him, Henry uses his skill and dodges the attack without even being close to it. The skill works by temporarily accelerating his body when an enemy attacks. The cooldown is half a second, and the mana consumption is extremely low. That is why he can run inside a horde and leave without a scratch. Yet, instead of being appreciated for this useful ability, the team members are laughing their asses off. They insinuate Henry is using mana only to bounce his ass around. It is said the evasion skill is the weakest skill because you can't use it to fight. Only a true man of culture can understand how useful this kind of ability is. Just imagine how useful this would be when you encounter a strange creature that has not received food and it's already dinner time. That creature goes by the nickname of Wife, and when she attacks you with arguments, you just use your evasion skill. Shortly after aggroing all the creatures, Henry moves back toward the party members as he is supposed to. Without much effort, they take care of all the creatures and get their hands on all the golden treasures that were waiting at the end of the dungeon. From all that, our little boy Henry received only a single coin. Unfortunately, that is his share, but it is not his fault. If he had the right skill, he would use it to fight as well. Even though he could earn more money if he got better equipment or skills, there is something not allowing him to do that. He must take care of his sister and buy the medicine she needs. Her name is Colette, and she is in a very deep sleep. Once inside the room, Henry starts cleaning her up and starts to narrate what happened today in the dungeon. How he lured the monsters away from a chest so the party could take care of it. Despite them being rough people, they at least recognize him as a part of their party. Once done, it is time for her medicine, and slowly he pours the recovery potion into her mouth. Looking in the back, there was a doctor checking on his sister, informing the boy that if this continues, his sister will die. She must drink a recovery potion every day. Hearing that, he froze for a moment. This is an expensive potion, but he must get it for his sister. He cannot procrastinate about it. Colette does not need him to be anxious and worried. That's why, from now on, he decided to make proper money. He cannot make enough money with a normal job. And even though being a carrier and decoy was difficult, he had to do his very best. However, today things took quite a turn when the party leader fired Henry. It turns out the boy got his right arm hurt, and since he is a luggage carrier, he won't be able to carry their luggage with only one hand. Yet, he is in this situation because he was carrying way more than usual inside the dungeon. It is not his fault he could not dodge the enemy's attacks. And now, when he tries to say he managed to carry all the stuff even while hurt, a fist can be seen approaching his face rapidly. One of the party members let his intrusive thoughts win and try to see how it feels to move his fist with high speed towards Henry's face. Right after that, being next to another group of adventurers, the boy starts asking them to let him join their party. Within seconds, despite just being thrown away, he sits on his knees, presenting himself and saying he would do anything. He is desperate to get some work and keeps bowing his head. Unfortunately, he is declined, and it can be seen that the leader from his previous party had something to do with that. To make the situation even worse, the man stands up behind the boy and tries to remind him of something. Henry is known as the Eternal Level 1. Mentioning that, everybody in the tavern starts laughing out loud, making the boy feel anxious. Even worse, everybody starts saying this guy can't defeat any monster, even if he wants to raise his level. His attack power is only 100, and he is absolutely useless. From behind, that guy keeps mocking him, mentioning there is no way anyone would want him in their party. Moments later, the party leader throws him out of the tavern, telling him not to show his face in this place again. And indeed, it is obvious everyone is scared of Guillermo, and they won't ever let Henry join their party. looking at the ground, wondering what he should do now since he is all alone. He knows that if he can't earn any money, his sister will leave him as well. That's why he stands up, despite all the bruises he has, despite all those insulting words, and despite being a level 1. He can't give up. His sister is waiting for him. Now, sitting in a corner of the city, looking at all the coins he has, the boy knows this won't be enough to buy a recovery potion. There is nothing else he could sell from home since he already sold his father's mementos. It is decided. Henry will go to the dungeon, even if he is alone. Opening his status, looking at those lacking skills, the boy tries to find something that he could do right now. If you are an ordinary adventurer, you can get items by defeating enemies. You can then sell those items for money, but on his own, he cannot do that. He can't even hurt a slime. Yet, he finds himself in front of a dungeon where starting adventurers come. Walking around, he does not feel good, walking slowly along the walls. Seeing a kobold wolf, he backs away, preparing for the encounter. Even this beginner's dungeon has a recommended exploration level of 4. Ready to do his thing, Henry asks his father for protection. Facing the kobold, he lures the creature toward him and, using evasion, runs past it, managing to take cover. He manages to arrive in the room where there is a chest, and upon opening it, he finds a poison antidote. Yet, it looks like he is celebrating too much for something worth only 5 coins, while the recovery potion costs 5,000 coins. However, the important thing is that he can make money. With his 150 agility, he can outrun the enemies. Everything starts to look brighter. That brightness quickly starts to fade as the boy keeps going. And all the chests he opens are empty. No matter how much he tries, or how many chests he opens, all of them are empty. He even starts getting exhausted from running only to find someone else has already taken everything. The boy has been searching for so long that he ends up in front of the boss room. Looking at the map, he knows he cannot go home like this. There are still some places he has not looked for treasures yet. In the deepest part of the dungeon lies the boss room. And behind the boss room lies a room only those who defeat the boss can enter, the reward room. There surely is a treasure chest. The reward for clearing the dungeon is the rarest and most valuable reward you can find in it. That would surely fetch a high price. He could buy recovery potions with it. That is something for sure. In that moment, some kobold wolves are approaching, and it seems to be a big group ready to attack Henry. As the creatures start attacking, the boy knows there is no way to escape. Using the evasion skill, he dashes towards the boss room. At that moment, the doors open, letting the boy in. However, he is not ready for that and tries to go back to the kobolds. Yet, the universe has prepared something else for him. The doors lock, and Henry is now facing the boss. Once inside this room, you can't get out. That is true until you defeat the boss. This time, the boss is a werewolf. The recommended subjugation level is 8, and the recommended party size is 6 people. Looking at its fierce body, Henry knows that only a single scratch could kill him. But he cannot die here. It does not matter that he is level 1 and alone. He does not know how he can return alive, but he cannot give up. He must not get hit by it, and whenever the creature attacks, he uses evasion. Any kind of attack this creature uses is fatal. Thankfully, Henry is really flexible and dodges everything coming his way. But for how long can he keep this up? His attacks are not hitting the boss, and he will not deal enough damage to kill it. He ends up in a really dangerous position, where the creature is about to end his journey. Yet, Henry uses all his might and evades it. Things are getting more and more dangerous. The werewolf is doing a wide-range attack without any preparation. Not knowing what he could do, since his only skill is to evade, Henry keeps on fighting. After dodging so many times, he gradually learns the boss's attack patterns. All that is left to do is concentrate. Right now, the werewolf is raising both its hands, meaning a continuous attack is coming. Sometimes it can perform a variation of the wide-range attack, but for this type of attack, Henry can only use evasion. Finally, he finds a position that allows him to attack the creature. But since his attack power is only 10, nothing happens to it. He tries desperately to stab, but only deals 1 damage. However, even though this damage is not ideal, he will keep going until the creature dies. However, The werewolf manages to grab the boy by his head. Henry can't do anything to escape its grasp. The boy has given up on attacking, but all he can do is avoid the creature's attacks. Being in that posture, he knows this is the end. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot win. Holding his little knife toward the creature as it moves its claws, Henry starts believing his evasion skill is indeed the weakest skill. Thankfully, the knife saves his life for now, making the creature propel him away as it breaks the weapon in two. Moving toward the wall at extreme speed, Henry starts wondering if his father, who died while conquering a dungeon, died like this. But then memories of his sister come to his mind. Moments before hitting the wall, he hears her voice calling for him. Waking from that hallucination, observing that he is about to be obliterated, knowing the end is approaching at high speed, he starts wondering what he could do and uses the evasion skill. That skill allows him to go through the wall as if it were just a hologram. Falling down on the other side of the wall, he lands on his backside and wonders what just happened. His body did not hit the wall, but it felt like he was absorbed by it. Looking in front of him, Henry cannot believe it. There is the chest. He ended up in the treasure room, and once he opened the chest, there was the Sword of Departure. It is the Facile Dungeon's first clear reward. If he sells this, he might be able to buy some recovery potions. Moving back to the wall he flew through, Henry wonders why that happened even though he did not beat the boss. However, looking back at the sword he just got, the boy believes he will no longer be made fun of. Even more, he believes evasion might be a great skill. Sometime later, Henry finally made it back to his hometown, Garaboso. This is the place where many adventurers gather to explore dungeons. In this town, power and weakness define justice. The adventurers are making this town prosper. Inside the tavern, one big, brainless guy grabs Henry by the shirt, questioning if he came to steal. But that is not the case. Henry takes out the sword, trying to sell it, waiting for it to be appraised and hoping someone will buy it. The sound can be heard, and 30,000 Yale is offered as payment for the weapon. This is going to make such a difference. With this amount of money, he can buy 6 recovery potions. Rushing home after buying the recovery potions, Henry finally shows a smile. He knows that if he does not manage the recovery potions carefully, his sister would leave. But he made it this time. While sitting on the bedside, he starts telling her how everything went. Covered in bruises, he can feel his sister's presence holding him in her arms. In front of her, he is weak, but she has been his encouragement many times. Today, Henry will explore the Facile Dungeon again. Yesterday, he used evasion to move trough the wall and get a clear reward without defeating the boss. He should be able to do that as many times as he wants. He is sure he could buy at least 1 recovery potion each day. With this, Colette's health and safety mission begins. Once inside the dungeon, the boy tries to use evasion to clip through the wall, but it does not seem to work, no matter how many times he tries. Thinking about how it happened, the boy recalls moving with speed toward the wall. He believes creating the same amount of momentum would do it. Bad news, it does not work. He just implants his face in the wall. This won't work at all. To make it even more awkward, some adventurers are watching this silly boy hit his head on the wall. Wondering what to do now since he does not understand how it worked last time, Henry is aware that his skills activate to dodge an enemy's attack. But why did it activate back then? With that in mind, he moves all the way to the boss room again. He must try the same conditions as yesterday. Once he is inside, the boy realizes that if he can't go through the wall, he is dead. Once again, facing this creature, he knows there is only one chance. He can't miss it. Repeating the steps exactly as last time, moving behind the creature, letting it grab him by the head, and being thrown through the wall. He is there. Close to hitting the wall, he uses the evasion skill. It works once again. He clips through the wall, realizing he must be thrown at a wall for it to activate. Henry can get a clear reward without defeating the boss. Now wondering if he will receive the same sword again, since this is a weapon you should receive only once as a reward after beating the boss. He opens the chest. Inside, he finds the Sword of Departures. Later, he goes back to the trade point and receives another 30,000 Yale. Looking at the person in charge, the boy feels suspicious and tries to come up with something, mentioning that he can't believe he got the Sword of Departures again. However, The guy in front changes his expression to something more relaxed, mentioning there must be a very low chance of it appearing after you beat the boss a second time. This guy only cares about receiving good weapons, so he can sell them. Once he arrives home, Henry questions his sleeping sister about what he should do with this much money. Starting to count, he manages to make 41,500 Yale. Counting money is such a fun activity that he starts doing it again. Thinking about it, if they had this kind of money before, they could have enjoyed so many things. But that is not something he plans to use the money for right now. Everything is for his sister and to cure her. From that point on, the boy keeps going to the dungeon, getting the sword numerous times and selling it to different merchants in town. With how things are going right now, he could even become rich. In this world, there are many different dungeons, but only a number of dungeons contain special first clear rewards. They all have extremely valuable items since they are first clear rewards. Is Henry going to be able to get all of them? Can he collect all those items without defeating the boss? Is there really a secret to his evasion skill? Henry never thought he would be able to get a first clear reward. Maybe he can find a first clear reward that will give him a cure for his sister's illness. If he keeps selling the Sword of Departures at the same place, people would start getting suspicious. Where should he go and sell it today? However, as all things have to end at some point, Henry is being called by somebody. From behind, someone approaches him, grabbing his head and mentioning that he had been selling items all over the place. That person is Guillermo, and he mentions that it is no good to sell other people's stuff. Henry does not understand what he means. We're taking a few moments into the future when a crowd gathers around Henry, who is lying on the ground, all beaten. As people start wondering why he is being beaten up, they mention that it is Guillermo and that they should not get involved. However, that guy insists Henry is a thief. He can't even defeat a single enemy, so it would be impossible for him to get his hands on that sword. The next moment, Guillermo puts the sword in his scabbard, making Henry want to shout that he did not steal it and to give it back. That is what he wishes he could have said. However, Guillermo moves closer, showing a smile, and says Henry should bring him everything he steals from now on. Waiting for the boy to say yes, Guillermo prepares to give him another hit in the face, but the guards show up. Yet, they stop when one of the members gives him a sack of money and mentions that their boss is one of the 3 great adventurers of this town. With that said, Guillermo is about to continue, mentioning that this is the justice in this town. But when he is about to give the finishing blow, lightning hits him, not allowing the man to move his body. That spell does not hit just the leader, but all the members. Apparently, this woman, with an item called the Crimson Cane, a level A-Class D item with a drop rate of 1 in 10,000, has done that. That person is Garaboso's one and only true witch, Auroria Shimbikit. Moving towards Guillermo, he grabs back the sword and returns it to Henry. Looking at the woman, Henry is astonished. She is amazing. Maybe she is a few years older than him, but she looks so dignified. The moment she is about to give the sword, she mentions, "I changed my mind. Since I took it, it should be mine." Hearing that, Henry freezes, unable to say anything. But she continues teasing him, saying the words the boy could not say when Guillermo took it. "Give it back. It's mine." With that, she returns the sword, prompting the boy to thank her and mention that he needs the money for his sister's daily recovery potions. Despite being surprised to find that there are people who think about others, not only themselves, the witch mentions that fighting is not a good idea. Later, at home, looking at his sister, Henry realizes that only collecting money won't allow him to protect her. For his sister's sake, no matter what, even if he gets the clear reward, if he stays like he is now, he will forever be left with scraps after the rest is stolen. Now that he knows the secret behind escaping through a wall, he does not want others to take it away. Looking at the missions board, Henry decides that today he is going for the rank E Pyral dungeon. He will use his evasion skill and become stronger. The first clear reward for this mission is the ultimate book. However, before going there, the boy decides to prepare a little. What he needs most right now is not a weapon, but a shield. Telling that to the merchant he usually sells his swords to, he is taken inside a room full of shields, with prices starting from 3,000 Yale to however much you have in your pocket. Asking the boy where he plans to go next, Hearing him say Pyral Dungeon, the man changes his expression, getting anxious. That is an E rank dungeon. A weakling like you wants to jump from F rank to something so dangerous? You must be going for the Book of Mastery, the godly item every adventurer is desperate to get. But you should make your mind. Looking at Henry picking the cheapest shield there, the merchant shows him that it is not going to do. He bends the shield in two using only his hands, then presents a small shield of the Rock Titan with 10,000 durability. That boss, the Black Man-Eating Ogre, has insanely heavy single-target attacks. Everybody spends money on swords and spears, yet countless beginners die because their armor breaks. This shield is cheap, but the quality is top-notch. Looking at the price, Henry sees it is marked at 120,000 Yale, but the merchant mentions he will give it for 80,000 as a discount. Later, Henry can be seen walking lifelessly towards the E-rank dungeon, where the recommended level is 21. Entering the boss room, the creature can be seen sitting on a stack of skulls. This is the Black Man-Eating Ogre. Facing him directly with the small Rock Titan shield, Henry smiles, sweat running down his face. He finally realizes being normal won't do. He is level 1, and his stats are too low. Even if he spends money on weapons, he normally cannot beat the boss. That is why he must concentrate all his resources into one point. He entrusts his life to this small shield. Then it comes. A strong hit by the boss propels Henry with extreme speed, making the boy understand that what the shop owner said was right. The Black Man-Eating Ogre's attacks are really powerful. Finally, in front of the wall, Henry uses his evasion skill and once again enters the treasure room without defeating the ogre. Looking at the shield after taking that hit, he is surprised to see not even a scratch. He is on cloud 9, realizing that the strategy of intentionally taking the enemy's attack and getting launched worked. With this shield, he can face his enemies. Moving toward the chest, he is ready to receive the first clear reward. There it is, the Book of Mastery. Without wasting any time, he uses it. This book is the only method he can use to increase his status since he cannot level up. This book increases the highest stat of a user by 10. For Henry, that stat is agility. It increased from 150 to 160. The boy has collected that book a few times already, and now he is using it in the room with his sister. Trying to show off his status, he runs in circles, feeling faster already. Even cleaning for his sister finishes quicker. Looking at her, as he is about to give the medicine, he mentions he will become stronger to protect her. He will get stronger through infinite rewards. But what does it really mean to become stronger? How much should he increase his agility? If he can collect the Book of Mastery infinitely, there is no limit to how high he can raise his agility. When he was in Guillermo's party and looked at his stats, that man had 243 agility, and his highest stat was attack at 1,991. However, Henry